Good afternoon. We're going to get ready to get started with our seat at the table. I am Evangelist Garrett along with Apostle Garrett, my husband. And tonight we're going to pick back up with our conversation about are you anxious? So tonight I just wanted to open up and I was going to share with you one of the biggest things that I look at is that we have so much going on in our world today that everyone seems to be anxious about something. And sometimes, because we are anxious, we make long term decisions, which, whenever it should be, in fact, a short term decision. One of the things that I look at is that on last night, or was it this morning? It might have been this morning, as I was getting ready to get ready to go pick up our son from work. I was listening to a story of something that happened right here in the state of Florida. And there was a young lady that had committed suicide on yesterday. The cops had went to her home to do a well check because they knew she was a parent. So they went to go check on her kids, and they had assumed that the children were asleep. And whenever they saw that they was asleep, when they went to check them, they found that they were deceased. I'm a little troubled because of the fact, if you're not troubled, you should be. One, because of the fact that affects everyone. You get what I'm saying? And whenever I looked at the whole situation, they were saying that there had never had to been a social worker, no one from child agencies had to go and check and do anything. So they didn't understand what had happened. But then I noticed that I was sitting there, and as I was listening to it, I said, normally people reach out to someone. I said it's troubling because they're saying that she didn't reach out to someone. But in fact, she did. She had called her mother late last night. And when she called her mother on last night, what had happened was is that when she called her mom assumed that it was one of the two of her twins that had called. So she did not answer the call, and she neither did she return the call to see if things were okay. So now you got a mother that is now looking at it and thinking, what if I'd have just answered the phone? And I thought about it and I looked at it and I said, you know what? We, as the body of Christ, one of the biggest things I thought about was the first thing I thought about was Cain and Abel. Whenever Abel was no longer to be found, remember? And God was asking Cain, where was Abel? And his response was, am I my brother's keeper? Some of us have those issues in that time, in this day and time, because we feel that we're not responsible for someone else. But I look at it, we used to sing this song, I need you, you need me. Mm-hmm. I need you to survive, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I think that we've got away from that we actually do need each other. And exactly. In this day and in this time, there's so much going on. We see that there's an inflation, groceries going up everywhere. Everywhere. Absolutely. Groceries are going up everywhere. And this is not just an American issue. This is an issue abroad. So we're all experiencing something that's going on. And I was thinking about it on today is that nobody knows detail of the situation of why this young lady did what she did. Mm-hmm. But one of the greatest things that I looked at, and I looked up the meaning of anxious, it says experiencing worry, unease, nervousness, typically about immediate event or something with an uncertain outcome. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we all deal with those uncertain outcomes. Right. I'm looking at it like this also because of the fact I work a job that is a contract position. Mm-hmm. And we know that our contract is getting ready to come up. So some people are concerned about how they're going to pay their bills. Mm-hmm. But one of the greatest things that I look at is as leaders and as my husband being my leader and he's been our leader in our home, one of the biggest things that he tried to teach us is that you prepare before something happens. You don't allow it just to happen and then be concerned. But some of us are so foolishly spending, because I look at the fact, no matter how much of inflation, everybody talking about inflation, stuff is so high, but nobody stopped going out to eat. It doesn't matter what restaurant you go past, especially on this strip over here where we at. When you ride down the road and you go over there to the outlet, every restaurant around the outlet is full. If we go and ride down Dale Mabry, the restaurants on Dale Mabry is full.
Exactly.
If you go walk through the outlet, people are still shopping. So why are we complaining about inflation whenever we're not preparing for what's happening? We see every day what's going on. It does not change what's going on, but why would we continue to put ourselves to be caught? I'm gonna use this term lightly. As old people used to say, why would you allow yourself to be caught with your pants down? Because you already see what's going on. You go to the grocery store now. I love it whenever I see how people take their receipts and they take a picture of it, of how much they spending for the same things that they've been buying for a while. But now you're paying over $200 for a couple of items.
Exactly.
So whenever we become anxious, some of what we do, we put ourselves in the situations that we get in because of the decision making that we have. That affects not just our natural life, but it affects our spiritual life. Because think of how many times you done heard something in a church service that you didn't like, and you decided for the next couple of Sundays you just not gonna go.
Well, there's a lot of times, because the biggest thing is that people are not cognizant of what's going on, because if it's not fitting your situation, your decisions, bring that light forward a little bit. Mm-hmm. If it's not fitting pretty much how you feel, if it's not fitting the mode that you're in, if it's not fitting where you're going, if it's not something that will constitute how you would do things, if it's not going to make you happy, if it's not going to sustain the lifestyle that you have actually created, the image you are actually portraying, the image you want to portray, what you have made people to believe that you are doing, how you are doing it, the way that you're doing it, the manner in which you're doing it in, and how you've always did it, then yes, it will become what you're doing. You actually begin to create this persona before people, and now you're living before people in a manner that you're trying to make people happy instead of making yourself happy. So yeah, you're right. Just on the news, I think it was last night or night before last, and they were looking at how our economic situation is, and even with a possible government shutdown because of the fact that there's no Speaker of the House that they have as of yet put in place, and because they can't make up their minds of what will and what shall and how they shall move forward, they can't make decisions on what the economy of the United States will be. The president can't make a decision because he can't make a decision without you can make whatever laws, they can come up with whatever laws they want, but no laws can be passed because there is no Speaker of the House. But they're looking at the fact that even though the economy is the way it is, yet spending is still up. Even though prices are at pretty much an all-time high, people are still yet going to the grocery store, movies. They're still buying movies online. They are still doing what they're doing, and nobody has stopped the spending. You're right. But yet, when they get in the pickle, you're calling all of these government agencies for help. But you're not taking the time to budget yourself. You're not taking the time to look at what you have spent. Yeah, you're right. They're taking pictures of their receipts to see what they once spent to what they're spending now. They're looking at what the prices were a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and even 5 years back to what it is now 5 years later. And they're upset about it, but yet you're still doing it. You're looking at what you would pay for a steak now to you paid for a steak 5 years ago, and you're upset, but yet you're still going to some of the same restaurants, yet you're still going out to eat just as much as you did once before. But it's not stopping you from doing the same thing that you once did. But you're getting upset. You won't pay tithes. You won't give an offering. You won't do it at your own church, but yet you will go to somebody's explosion. You'll buy somebody's book. You'll make sure that you go to sow a seed into somebody else. They gave you a prominent word. They told you this. They told you that. They made you feel this. They made you feel that. And they told you that this was going to happen, that was going to happen. And you just dropped a whole bomb of what you had. And now you can't pay your bills. So you're running to all of these ministries that now are giving out all kinds of food and everything that they do once a month that is able to have tax write-offs. They have government funding that give to them. And you're worried about how you're going to make sure that your daughter have diapers, your son have diapers, your baby have formula, your baby have baby milk, your baby have this, your baby have that. And you're wondering how you're going to make it, wondering how you're going to pay your light bill, wondering how you're going to pay your water bill, wondering how you're going to pay your house note, wondering how you're going to pay the insurance on your house, wondering how you're going to pay your car note, your car insurance, wondering how you're going to make sure that your children have X, Y, Z, but you haven't taken the time. Yet the word still tells us, Paul tells us, the Apostle Paul says in the book of Philippians, he says that we ought not be anxious for nothing, but in all things, through prayer and supplication and thanksgiving, make your requests be made known. Yeah, you've done all of the praying, you've done all of the believing and everything like that. You've been to every church service. You don't want nobody to tell you, okay, now stop going out to McDonald's 2 or 3 times a week. Make you a lunch and bring it to work. Stop spending so much money in the vending machines at work. Buy you the little snacks and stuff you want to have and take it with you to work. Stop the extra riding around that you're doing so you won't be paying for a full tank of gas twice a week. Make sure that when you're going out, you're not going out to a restaurant that you're spending $50 to $60 on yourself or $60, $75 on you and somebody else twice a week. Cook a meal at home. You won't do that. You won't take and cook a meal that'll last 2 days at the house for you and your children. You're cooking every day. So now you're going to the grocery store 3 or 4 times a week to buy a meal to cook at the house. And half of that meal that you cook, you and your children are not eating. You're throwing half of that stuff away because your children say, I don't eat this and I don't eat that. I don't eat red meat. I don't eat chicken. I don't eat turkey. I don't eat this. I don't eat that. I want this. I want that. So now you're buying 4 or 5 different meals to cook at your house. So now you're trying to figure out how. One child says, I'm a pescatarian. Another child says that I'm a vegetarian. Another child says that I'm this and this and that and the third. So now you're spending so much money trying to feed a diet. Then you pay all this extra money to go to the gym, and you're spending extra money to make sure that you got all of these different apps and stuff going inside your home. And you're trying to survive and live because you got all of these extra things going inside your house. You got an app for this, you got an app for that, you got a Peloton this, and you got an app to go to this joint here, you got an app to go to that joint there, you got an app to watch this movie here, you got an app to watch that movie there. And now you're wondering how you're going to pay all of these things because now your bank now is charging you $35 for this and $35 for that because you got a surcharge on this, you got a surcharge on that. And you got all of these things going on, and you're trying to wonder how you're going to make it. You got 2 jobs just to be able to pay the things in your house because you're trying to figure out how to live all of these lives. The new latest iPhone that came out. You're trying to work extra hours so you can get the latest iPhone 14. You want the new Galaxy flip phone. So you're doing different things and you're wondering why you got all of these anxieties. You got headaches on top of headaches. And now you're paying to go to the doctor. You're paying to go to the psychiatrist. You're paying to go to the psychologist. You're paying the sociologist. Now having all of these attacks that's going on. You got bulimia, you're bulimic, and you got all of these schemes and all of these things that are taking place because you have no idea of how just to begin to back off, back away, put down, leave alone. You're in everybody's business and everybody's here. Hey, Mama Linda, how you doing? You have not learned just how to deal with you. You have not figured out. You got ulcers. You're taking all kinds of Pepto-Bismol, Kaopectate. You're coming up with all kind of remedies. You're burning incense in the house, and you poured all kinds of ammonia outside the door, put red pepper at the front door and everything. And you got all kind of social media sites that you're on. You're worried about what person's saying this and what person's saying that. And you're just bothered and you're troubled because there's some things that you just got to let go. There's some things that you can manage and control. There's some things that you can just begin to remove yourself from. He said, wherefore come out from among them and be ye separated. Some things you just won't separate yourself from. You love being a busybody in other men's affairs. You just can't help yourself. Some of us, we are anxious in a lot of things because we just got a case of the just can't help it. We got a case of just being in everybody's business and stirring up all kinds of trouble. The word tells us also that a dog is soon returned to his own vomit. Some of y'all just can't help but go back to the vomit that you threw up. You can't help but go back to the mess that you stirred up. You just can't help but going back to stirring up the same trouble that you just came out of. So the reason why some of us have all of these anxiety attacks is because you're trying to figure out how you can be in the same person's face that you just caused all of the trouble with. What's the matter?
You look at that camera up there.
I'm looking forward, period. It doesn't matter what camera I'm looking at. You worried about the camera I'm looking at. What the whole point of trying to get across while my wife said you're looking down and looking at the camera. You got two cameras going, so it really don't matter what camera I look at. So how about I just look at the ceiling?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So I'm gonna look at the ceiling and I'm gonna say this. One of the biggest things is that we get so caught up in a whole lot of things that we have the control over because we lack discipline. We lack self-control. We lack the motivation to just say, I'm going to get out of it. And we have this thing where we got all of these face cards that we have now turned over because we told Sally that Jane was talking about her, and we told Jane that Sally had now been messing with so-and-so that she knows she liked and that she wanted to be with, but you just told Jane that Sally was being a busybody in her business, and now you're trying to make it look like you didn't cause no trouble. So you done been double-faced, two-faced, and flip side, and you trying to stay friends and stay cordial with both of them, and now you done got caught up. So you don't know what's going on because now Jane and Sally know that somebody done said something somewhere, and you so worried and troubled and bothered, you don't know if Jane done found out that it was you that said it or somebody else done told them that you were saying it, because you didn't just talk about Jane and Sally, but you went to Missy, you done went to Beth, you done went to Ann, you done went to Margaret, you done went to all of these folks saying all kinds of stuff you ain't had no business saying because you just don't know how to stop running your mouth. Your mouth run more than a faucet that's got a leak, and they done fixed it and it still got a drip because you got the drips and the dropsies because you don't know how to be quiet. But you want to be everybody's friend. Now you worry you ain't showed up in the last couple of days and everybody wonder what's going on, and then come to find out you so worried, you're troubled, you done lost weight, you can't sleep, you got so much going on, and you're so bothered, you're taking all kinds of pills to try to stay woke, go to sleep, trying to make sure that you ain't got no headaches, you got trembles and everything, and you don't want to be bothered, and you just trying to make sure you mind your business, stay out of everybody else's business, and find out that it was Bill that was doing all of this mess and telling everybody business because Bill didn't know whether or not he wanted to be a man or a woman.
My Lord.
So now you was anxious for no reason. And now you had to tell, well, I did tell Bill, and I shared with Bill something that you had said, but I didn't quite say it like that. And see what happened was, and that's the problem. See these words that we all have used, and I'm saying all of us because at one point I said to myself, but see, I ain't too big because I'm going to tell you what I said. If I said it behind you, I can say it in front of you. And if I said it in front of you, I can say it behind you. And I'm going to tell you what I said because I'm going to say it just like I said it. But some of us use the word, see what happened was. Stop saying what happened was. If you was man or woman enough to say something behind somebody's back, my mother, my grandmother, and all of my aunts have always said, be man and woman enough to say what you said to their face. And that's where we get so stuck on the fact that we are now nervous to be in front of folk because we can't repeat what we said out of our mouth. It's no difference than what they use in psychology, and that is, I can whisper in my wife's ear the words that, hey, listen, tell Bob and Tim that I need them to meet me at the end of the street on the corner of Longshore in 10 minutes. And I got 10 people sitting at the table with us. That makes 11 with her. And by the time it get to the end of the table to Bill and Tim, that ain't exactly what was said, because she gonna tell them exactly like I said it. But by the time we get to Bill and Tim, that ain't what's said. By the time Bill and Tim get the message, Bill and Tim been told to meet me at the end of the street, by the stop sign, on the corner of Longshore and Clearwater. They're going to be there in an hour, and I've been standing there for 10 minutes, and now I'm waiting for an hour when I said meet me there in 10 minutes, and them jokers ain't showed up for a whole hour. Now I'm gone, and they're there, and they calling me, asking me where I'm at. I said, I told my wife to tell y'all to meet me there in 10 minutes. Now, we was told to meet you there in an hour. That's not what I said, because we don't know how to carry a message the right way. But because I wasn't able to tell them, because I was heading out of the door, and because there was another meeting that was already going on, so not to disturb what was taking place, I asked the message to be passed on to see if the message would be carried just like it was said. But because everybody got to put their double 2 cents in it instead of just saying what was actually said, the way that it was said, we can't do it. So now you can't fess up. No, I ain't what I said. That's not how I said it. I said it just like Evangelist told me. Evangelist said to be there in 10 minutes. No, if Evangelist said to you, be there in 10 minutes, like I said, then how come Bill and Ted was told by Mike and Bob, the other Bob that was at the meeting, and Larry and Sal said that it was told to them, because on side of Evangelist was John, which another John was at the meeting, told y'all that I said, meet me on the corner of Longshore and Clearwater in 10 minutes by the stop sign. How y'all said an hour? Well, see, I don't know, because I thought I heard. Don't say I thought I heard. So now we get so anxious because we have no earthly clue of how to carry the message. Mm-hmm. So let me help you. Anxiety comes because of the fact that we are bothered, we're troubled by something that is haunting us. Mm-hmm. Haunting is October, and next week we're going to be worried about all of these ghosts and goblins. Next week we're going to be so troubled because we're worried about the dead walking the earth. Next week we're so bothered about somebody trying to take something from us, or causing us to lose what we have, or cause us to be at a place where we're no longer alive. We're so worried because we don't know whether or not we're going to get a chance to see what our love will look like, or if we're going to be scared out of our wits. When we are at a place where our levels of anxieties are so high, it causes the dopamines, and it causes our brains to give off endorphins that now causes us to sweat. It causes our bodies to begin to cause us to see things, to hear things, to feel things, to be at a place to where we're so sporadic that we can't keep still. Our nerves and our nerve endings, and they fire so rapid that we are out of control. That when somebody does tell us something that is so meaningful and is full of truth, we consider it to be a lie because we don't believe it, because we've been around so many people that were so untrustworthy. So anxiety produces unbelief. It produces untrust. It produces a thing in us where we're unfaithful. We are at a place to where we don't believe anything, and we're afraid to rely on anyone. So we live in a time where we just can't seem to believe in God, in Christ, the church, one another, our loved ones, our husband, our wives. We don't even believe in the very system of what we consider to be a government. It's being proven and shown every day that right before our very eyes, that the thing that we call, that we trust television and news outlets produce one thing, and then they turn right back around and show you that's really not what's going on. They show you that there are wars and rumors of wars. We forgot that the word said that there would be, and this rumor that it is, and although there is war that is going on, yet they telling you that is really bad, when in actuality, in factuality, it's not as bad as it is, because they want to prove to you that one side is weaker than what it really is, to show you that I can make you do what I want you to do. So now I got you at a place where they used to use the word fidgety. You're so in a place to where I got you in an uproar. That's all fidgety mean, is that I got you in such an uproar that I can get you to jump and do what I want you to do, because I've given you the information that'll cause your brain to be at a place where I now have dispelled and given you a mist of a truth that really is a lie, but I fitted it so well that you believe the lie that I told, because the word of God have told us that we will believe a lie before we believe the truth. And we have believed so many lies as the truth that when the truth come out, we don't believe what the truth is, because we believe the lie as being the truth. And now that the truth is being told, we don't know what to believe. And when the truth has been set before us, we don't know how to stand. So tonight, as we finish this off with anxiety and being anxious, and are you anxious about something? What has you at the place that you are? Because you've done something. You know you have done somebody wrong. You know you've done your loved one wrong. You know you've done your wife, your husband, your mother, your father. You know you have taken something. You know you have said something. You know you have committed something that you know is going to cause somebody some kind of harm down the line. And you're sitting there as though you didn't do anything wrong. You have said something that will cause somebody to be imprisoned. You have said something that will cause somebody relationship to now end in argument, a fuss, a fight. You have said something that you know that the persons that will be affected by, that man will lay his hands on that woman, that woman will go and slice that man's tire. You know that the two persons that you are friends with, and you in high school, to all of our teenagers out there, to all of our young people out there, you know that Lil Bobby and Lil Sally, you know that they're prone to argue and start fighting. You know sisters and brothers are going to go at each other. You know that the next door neighbor don't like the next door neighbor, and you've done something, said something, and you know you put it there, and you don't know how the response is going to be, but you want to see what's going to happen, because you know they don't like each other. So now you have now caused a ripple in the water that they are now nearby. And you did it just to see what's going to happen. And you so anxious to see how they're going to respond to each other. And no, they're outside shooting at each other. They're outside tearing each other's property up. They're outside tearing each other's fences down. They're outside breaking each other's windows out each other's houses. They're outside busting each other's windows out each other's cars. They're waiting for the other to come home, because the other have bust open the other one's door. And now, hey, you'd have done such and such and thus and so. Because what I really want to say, you faithful people, you Christian folk will not be able to handle the reality of what will really be said, because they done been to church, they're deacons in the church, and now you just said something about some deacon and, the pastor's wife or some pastor and some member in the choir, and now you just said something that ain't true because you don't know really what took place, and now you got Reb and his, member, husband in the church, or Sister Reb and somebody in the church now get ready to go at it because your mouth done ran sideways. Because you wanted to see what was going to happen. You done told Pastor White that you seen Pastor somewhere, or you saw Pastor coming out of a hotel, but you forgot they had a program getting ready to come up. And Pastor had to find a hotel that they could now be able to hold this program at. And he just happened to be at one of the largest hotels. And he was standing outside with a woman. And he just so happened to have put his arms around that woman and embraced that woman. And it was a woman that you knew done some things and was prone to be with other people. And now because he had been there a couple of days back to back. But you didn't realize this was the woman that was over the community relations at the hotel. But everybody knows that she did community relations in other places as well. But she had a good job. And her job afforded her a kind of lifestyle that you didn't realize. Because I know some folk like that. And now that everything is settled and they got the large room, and Rev didn't have to be part of that community relations that she had apart from her job. But the church now was able to get that large room. That seat about 500-600 people. And the church didn't have to pay nothing at all because the lady was able to talk to upper management and allow it because she knew Rev in the community. And because his character fit enough. And they found out who he was. And they allowed the church to be able to use it. In Compton. Now you done went back and said some stuff because you saw them over there laughing and joking and shoo-shooing and always hugged up, and then you saw them holding hands, but you didn't know what was going on. And because you knew that him and his wife was having some problems. Now, and you're right, Mama Linda, negative mouthpieces are dangerous. That's right. And now all of a sudden, Rev done got home. And because this woman this day here had been dressed up this day, this final day they got it together, she had on some nice, expensive perfume. And she had on some lipstick. Pastor wasn't paying no mind that the woman had hugged him and she got lipstick on his shirt, on his collar at that. And her perfume smell was on his clothes. Now, Pastor was in just some roundabout clothes that day. He wasn't even dressed up that day. He just had on a nice, decent shirt, some slacks. Now he done got home because you done sent the word and you said all these other things and said that they had went in some room in the back because you followed him in the hotel. And said he was in this room by this 7. You heard him back there and heard some noises. But you didn't know what noises you heard. And say you saw them coming out fixing their clothes. And wasn't nobody fixing their clothes. But because Rev had had some indiscrepancies in his life in the past. And because that was about 10 years ago of this preacher's life. And for anybody to think I'm talking about myself, I'm not talking about myself. I'm making an example. And I'm making this up. And now all of a sudden, his wife and him done got into it. So the woman now got to come forward and show all the paperwork. And good thing they had cameras in this room where they was at in the back. And because they both had went in this room together. And the reason why they had fixed their clothes because there was some boxes that she was showing Rev that if they needed any of this stuff that was in the back, tablecloths and all of this other stuff. But this woman had caused some issues. And for a couple of days, they had argued and fussed. And she had told her husband he had to get out. But he went to a different hotel because it would have looked bad if he'd went to the same hotel and got a room. But he went to a different hotel and got a room. And just so happened, the lady said, Pastor, when you said the event was, and he let the lady know the day of the event and all this other good stuff. We talking about being anxious because, see, this is what people do. They cause anxieties because the wife was already upset at what was already taking place because things was already stressful that they had going on at their house. We talking about being anxious because anxiousness produces anxiety. Anxiety produces fear. Fear causes all kinds of stuff. And she said, well, Pastor, wait a minute. You and I ain't never crossed no lines and you never got out the way with me. We got all kind of cameras at our hotel. She said, what's your wife's name? Can I have a number? No, he said, no, they ain't. I don't think that's a good idea. No, Pastor, give me the number. I got this. Just give it to me. I got this. And he started trying to tell her no. Gave her the number and everything. And she went on to pull up the videotapes of everywhere they was at. And then when he showed it to the wife got in touch with the woman that had caused all the trouble. Because see, sometimes you got to put people on spot. Even though it's already causing you some issues. Because see, some of us don't know how to settle the anxiety. Because see, that was the pill that needed to be taken. And that's how you settle down and shut some folk mouths. Because that's what has to happen. Because now you have to put it where it needs to be put. Because you got to put some people in their place. And if you don't do that, you're going to have a whole lot of anxious days, worry days, weary days, lonely nights, sleepless nights. You're going to have nights where even if you had Prozac won't put you to sleep. Even if you had all of the other medicines in the world that they give you to cause you to slow your brain down. That's why people have bipolar 1, bipolar 2. That's why people have schizophrenia 1, schizophrenia 2, because of the fact anxiousness that produces anxieties have us at this place. And it will have you in positions where when you cry out, see, this is the thing, when you're anxious, there's a cry. Your mannerism, your behavior begin to show people something is wrong. Pay attention, people. Mental illness is very, very serious. And what I found since we've been here in Florida, it's really now taking effect. When I was in Georgia, I talked about it all the time. And then all of a sudden now, all over the news, everybody want to talk about it. Because they were shooting people that shouldn't have been shot. Because they displayed it. Ministries all of a sudden want to talk about it because we had a lot of ministers started taking their lives, but preachers didn't want to talk about it. Pastors didn't want to talk about it. There are pastors that have these issues going on because we deal with people's issues every day. But I'm going to tell you, we have to also take care of our health. How you going to tell somebody that John, in his letter, said that the Bible says that you're going to prosper, even as your soul prosper and be in good health? You can't be in good health if the mind ain't in good health. Amen. But all you want to prosper is in your pocket. There's no good prosperity if all you got is money. We looked at the news last night, or rather we looked at a commercial last night, and my wife said, "There go your boy." I'm like, "What boy?" And Pastor Joel Osteen got a 3-minute boost that you can go to 3minuteboost.com. And I'm not knocking Pastor Joel Osteen, but we all need a boost. But the boost that we need is to recognize that there are some things that we got going on. And if all I'm doing is just energizing you, but I'm not telling you you need to come out, and I'm not showing you how to come out, and I'm not showing you how to stay out, and I'm not showing you how to discipline yourself so that when you come out and stabilize yourself, I can energize you and boost you all you want. You can go to the store and get what that little thing is, a little boost. Give you some caffeine and you're good.
5-hour energy.
Give you a 5-hour energy, and after 5 hours, you're gone. Suddenly, I give you a prime drink. And after that, you're done. But I need to give you something that when life really knocks you, and life done slap you upside your head so hard, and you recognize and realize, wait a minute, the tailwinds of life are so turbulent. What do I do? Do I remember my purpose? Mm-hmm. Do I recognize my purpose? Mm-hmm. I'm in the fire, but I'm not being burned.
Amen.
I realize, I put a post out earlier today, and I don't know how many of you was able to see it. I don't know how many of you did see it. I don't know how many of you just liked it because of the picture that was put out and the fact that I had on one of my military hats that I had on, or you liked it because you saw the old face and the gray hair and all that other good stuff, or you liked it because you read what was stated on there, and I wrote it because of what the Spirit had moved me, because I just came back from going to the store, and I sat in my garage, and while I was sitting in the garage in my chair behind my car, I posted what I heard the Spirit of the Lord leading me to post. And when you look at those things at the end of the day, when you recognize what was written in there, and the most important thing about what was written in there, you got to realize, first of all, fire don't burn in the same place twice. Second of all, fire is not something that you ought to be afraid of, but yet it's not something that you play with. Third of all, when you realize that fire is a purifier. Fourth of all, when fire does come and it purifies and it purges, it also begins to cleanse. And sometimes God allows the fires of life through the trials that we have to both purify, to purge, to cleanse, but also to propel us to where we need to go, so that there's some things in us that we need to get out that we won't get out. So God got to sometime allow the life trials that we have and the issues that we're going through to burn them out of us, because otherwise we will still allow our anxiousness, our anxieties, our fears, our worries, our troubles to continue to keep us there. But you have not refocused yourself to realize that God only allowed it so you can get the devil out of where you at.
Come on.
That's why you cannot allow the fact that you're anxious to keep you where you at.
Mm-hmm.
There's a purpose why God allowed it to happen. You're stuck where you are because you
wife in charge of the laptop, so we do apologize. So listen, for that brief intermission, we're sorry. So listen, for that brief intermission. So listen, uh, we stop for just a second because for some reason I don't know what my wife be thinking about sometimes, and it whatever be on evangelist mind. So we were black for a moment, and wherever be on this woman's mind, I have no earthly idea. So we apologize. We went down for a second, but like I told her, there was no worries on my part. I don't get worried and I don't get fretful. I was not angry or upset. That might have been the point where God wanted it to stop for that brief second, because I look at all things, because the words still tell us that all things still work together for good. That might have been the place where God wanted somebody to hear that last part. So when you look at things in life and you don't allow everything to get you all in the bunch, you heard her say earlier in this broadcast, don't get your panties in a bunch. And what I like about it is that a lot of folk will look at that and they will say, well, see, that's why we do it like this, and this is why we do it like that, and that's why we always have our stuff like this and have our stuff fitted like that. That's good. I'm glad you do, because you don't know how to come back when a glitch happens. You don't know what to do when a glitch takes place in your broadcast. You don't know how to bounce back from it. You'll get worried, you'll get fearful, you'll get fretful, you'll get upset. You don't know how to respond to it. That's why I'm glad that the family that I grew up in on both sides, my mother's side, my father's side, I'm glad my adopted father, they all prepared me, because God allowed the training ground that I came up in. I'm glad my palace training, just like with Moses, God give us palace training. What was your palace training so that the anxious days that you came through, the anxious days that you had to face, the anxious days that you will face, the anxious days that are ahead that you will face, you know how to deal with it. See, when you find yourself in a position where anxiety gonna come, we got a lot of military brothers and sisters, we got a lot of military personnel, we have a lot of police personnel, we have a lot of teachers that are feeling the anxiety of dealing with children every day. We looked at a post not long ago where the teacher, I believe it was in Texas, where the young lady decided that she wanted to fight the teacher. And when she felt that she was more grown than the teacher in the class, and the teacher gave her the opportunity to back off, but she wouldn't. And she decided she wanted to brave up to the teacher. Now, y'all all know back in the day, we ain't never put ourselves in a position where we were going to raise our hand to no grown person. And if you found yourself where you found yourself in a world of trouble. So we got to put ourselves in position where parents, we got to put ourselves in position where our children know you don't raise your hand to no grown person. So the anxiety level now is that kids are cussing teachers out in the classroom. Parents are at a place now where they have to put themselves in position. Is my wife, my husband, even if the person is married to another man and they're a man, or married to a woman, or what have you, are they going to come home safe? Is my partner coming home safe? Why am I saying that? Because at the end of the day, these children are going to school with knives. They're going to school with guns. And you have no idea. You got young children that are going to school with things that they should not go to school with, because we didn't do that. We knew better than that. The kids are going to school with alcoholic beverages. We had an incident where we were talking with one of our sisters, and up in her hometown in Toledo, Ohio, young child went to school because they saw mom and them, they were drinking some, what was it, Jose Cuervo. And because mom and them had been drinking some Jose Cuervo, child brought it to the little kindergarten class that they had and gave the whole class some Jose Cuervo, and all the kids were drunk in class. So the thing about it, we have to be at a place, what are we anxious about? How did the child know it? What's going on? What are we doing in front of our children? What are we preparing our children for? So we're anxious in all kind of ways, in all kind of situations. Our children are doing things now that they shouldn't be doing. They're learning things much faster. So at the end of the day, brothers and sisters, we have to be at a place, and don't think that I'm promoting anything, because I'm not, because when you look at how anxious we are, we don't know whether or not we're going to have our jobs. We don't know whether or not our money is safe in the banks. We don't know whether or not our cars are safe outside, because they're coming up with all kinds of devices and vices to be able to steal your car. They're coming up with all kinds of means now to kidnap our women by the things they're putting on the cars now to inhibit women and knock them out. Waiting inside your car to now kidnap you or murder you. So the anxiety level is very high. So you got to be at a place that you're prepared for just about anything. So at the end of the day, are you at a place to where you're mentally, consciously, psychologically, and subconsciously ready for what's going on? And I end off with this here, 2 Corinthians chapter 10. Paul tells the body of believers at the church at Corinth, he tells us that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they're mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. Now listen, we fight with our mouths. You got to be psychologically sound. You got to be mentally capable. Are you intellectually able to deal with people in such a way that the verbiage that you use, that you are capable of being able to use sound words in such a manner that when you fight, you don't use the same type of verbiage that they're using against you, but you so intellectually sound in what you're saying back to them that they have no earthly clue of how to respond back, because you're not using cuss words. You're not using the badgering words that they're using. You're not using demeanoring words that they're using to demeanor you. You're using words that are so uplifting and so rounding that they are at a place to where they're lost. Your words, let me use this word here, are so auspicious that they are like, what did you get that from? Why did you say that to me? What did you just say to me? I have no idea. What does that word mean? You're using words that are beyond their level, beyond their capability, that they're stunned, they're in a stupor, they're so drunk that they have no clue of how to respond. They're stopped in what they're doing because you're so intellectually sound, and you gravitate to a level that they don't know what's going on, because you didn't now stoop to the level where they are, but you use principles whereby the foundation of what you begin to talk to them with had them at a place that they're lost. You didn't have to use biblical terms and terminology, but you use biblical terms and terminology without using Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. You didn't have to go in Genesis, Exodus. You didn't have to go into any book, but you used the books of the Bible without calling the books of the Bible out. So you understood that the strongholds of life that had you so anxious in the areas where you were, you didn't allow those things to keep you in bondage. You were able to now unbound yourself. You was able to take the things that had you all tied up, that had you all twisted up, and now you twisted them back up with what was trying to twist you up and keep you twisted and have you at a place in your dreams at night that you were no longer at that place. Let me put this to you and end it off with this last thing here, because this is where we're going off the air, because some of us are at a place at night while we're sleeping, and we have so many invisible things that cause us to do things in our sleep that when we're awake, we have no earthly idea. And when we're told about them, we're at a loss because we have no idea what we did. But we do them so often because we're so unconscious of what is taking place, and they're taking place so often that we don't realize, because in our conscious mind, these things have happened so many times before, because we do them so unwittingly and so unconsciously, because we lived that life so far before that even though we feel that we've stopped it, we're still doing it in our subconscious mind. And it has become a reality that now is acting itself out in our sleep. And our subconscious mind now has surfaced itself while we're sleeping. And while it has surfaced itself while it's sleeping, it's affecting our life and causing us problems in every area, especially in our homes a lot of time. And when those things begin to take place, there's a demon called incubus and succubus. And these things now cause us to have issues in all kinds of areas. So now those are two. I'll give you the other ones the next time we talk. So listen, have a great night. Remember, you have to now cast down every imagination, because the mind is not just a terrible thing to waste, but the mind can create some things and cause us to have some things and create a world that will cause us to escape it and put us in so far of an escape that we'll create a reality that is a false reality, and we'll live it out in our mind and now begin to bring it to the surface and live that in our everyday life. Why you think they make all of these shows that you see, and why you think some people do the things that they do in a real live world and wind up trying to figure out, why did I do that? Because that's what they've been seeing in their head all the time. Because the imagination of what they imagine, and it's why they paint what they paint, draw what they draw. It's why they sing what they sing, and it's why they create the movies they create, because of the false reality that they've created in their head and in their heart, that now have come to this heart and now have come out by their hands, by their mouth, or by their thoughts. But he said, cast down every imagination that exalt itself above the knowledge of God. So think about that, and you won't be so anxious next time you find yourself at a place that you think you can't make it. Anything else?
Good night, y'all.